The accused.
T.
T.
Charged with second-degree murder.
The
The slave. Ah.
and outrage over his selfie from the back of a police cruiser. It's almost like he is taunting the deputies and her friends and her family.
Then.
Line for gas is crazy.
Gas crisis
Gas crisis.
2021.
21.
You can do save gas so you don't have to wait in line.
And
On Earth.
on Earth.
The homeless situation is out of control. Even Crocodile Dundee
Dundee.
says it's too dangerous for him.
Him.
The woman he found on the street,
The street.
she was once a big celebrity.
Celebrity.
The COVID workout.
Down.
Tight abs.
How Americans are getting in shape before heading back to work.
Work.
We
Then.
need to talk about something.
Matt Damon
Damon.
on the hot seat.
Hot seat.
Your friend Ben Affleck and a little thing we call Bennifer.
Did he just
Did
hang
you just say that?
Plus,
Plus.
the mob who said she was kicked out of the theme park.
Theme park.
Wearing short shorts.
Shorts. Down. Now, inside edition with Devin Norval. Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us today.
A
13-year-old
is dead.
is dead.
And a 14-year-old boy is charged with her murder. And the
now.
community where they both lived is wondering why.
Why?
The girl was a
The girl's-
cheerleader, described by everyone as the friendliest girl around. Her body was found in a
found
wooded area about 24 hours after she went missing. Stephen Fabian has more on this heartbreaking story.
This 14-year-old is accused of a terrible crime.
You're charged with second-degree murder.
Prosecutors say he killed a 13-year-old cheerleader. When that bad news came out, that deputies found her body, people were devastated. Tristan Bailey was reported missing from her home outside Jacksonville on Mother's Day. The missing poster declared last seen wearing a white cheerleading skirt and dark-colored shirt. Tristan was last seen at a community center popular for its pool and clubhouse. Police say surveillance video shows Tristan walking in the park at 1:45 in the morning on Mother's Day, accompanied by a male student from her school. Her body was discovered later that day at 6 p.m. She had been stabbed to death. Aiden Fucci was charged with the slaying. He posted this bizarre photo of himself in the police car. He's giving the V sign and writes, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?" It's almost like he is taunting the deputies and her friends and her family and the community.
You have the right to remain silent.
This morning, Fucci was brought before a judge. His mother can be seen wiping away tears. Tristan is described as cheerful, spirited, and the friendliest person.
We're just so in shock right now. I feel shattered and our heads are just spinning. Tristan was such a light in our program.
She and her cheerleading squad appeared at a competition just a week ago. A vigil was held last night in her hometown. A service was also held at the gym where the cheerleading squad practices.
It's just amazing, looking back at all of the memories we had together with her and just how much of a role model she was and how great of a leader she was and how selfless.
The 14-year-old
14-year-old
suspect is
girl
being held at a juvenile
the children-
facility while
Why?
authorities decide whether or not to charge him as an adult. Have you filled your
You
tank
put-
lately?
maybe-
Gasoline may continue to be in short supply
Why?
thanks to that weekend cyber attack on one of the region's major gas pipelines. And it's not just in short supply, it's expensive. Nationwide, gas
now
prices are at a 7-year high. Amber Cayenne with some tips on how to get the most out of what is in your tank.
Drivers are in panic mode with lines stretching a mile long and some gas stations running dry. This line for gas is crazy. Now drivers from Maine to Florida are rushing to the pumps, waiting on lines that are reminding lots of people of the oil crisis in the 1970s and shortages in the wake of Hurricane Sandy in 2012. But there are things you can do to make your gas last longer, says AAA's Robert Sinclair. Robert, we all want to stretch our gas these days. How do we do it? It's to make sure you perform routine maintenance checks. How could proper maintenance save you on your gas? How does that happen?
The engine is running at its optimum. It is running efficiently. It's going to be burning gasoline most efficiently. It's very important to make sure the engine is in good running condition to save gasoline. Another tip for improved fuel economy, make sure sure your tires are properly inflated.
How much gas can you actually save, Robert, by keeping your tires inflated?
It could be as much as 1% of your overall fuel economy
Wow.
per tire.
Driving at a lower speed limit is also a simple way to conserve gas.
Driving faster uses more gasoline. You have to overcome the extra wind resistance at higher speeds.
If you're commuting, try a carpool.
That's an excellent way of saving gasoline. And imagine if everyone was driving individually, if there are 3 or 4 people in a car, that'd be that many more cars on the road, all burning gasoline.
And most importantly, our expert says don't panic buy or hoard gas.
The outage of this pipeline has demonstrated just how vulnerable we are.
And one more tip.
And we were taking now.
Light. The heavier your car,
car,
the more gas you'll use.
Venice Beacon now.
Is a community under siege
Yes.
as homelessness has exploded.
Exploded.
A veritable tent
The tent
city has
city.
grown on the town's iconic boardwalk. Violent
Violent.
crime there is now two and a half times the national average. Stu Murray reports some residents, and that includes Crocodile Dundee star Paul Hogan, are desperate to leave.
Iconic Venice Beach was once a tourist mecca, made famous by the 1977 film Pumping Iron, featuring bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now it's being called Hell on Earth after a takeover by the homeless. This is the famous Venice Boardwalk. It's generally filled with street vendors and packed with tourists, but now it's one large homeless encampment. One local resident told me the only time he feels safe here is in broad daylight, and only if he keeps moving. On this night, a tent catches fire. Then the entire thing explodes. This fire destroyed a home and killed the homeowner's dog. Angry neighbors blame increasingly hostile homeless living next door. Let me get on it. Just yesterday, fists were flying outside the encampment. Here, a man clocks a woman outside a restaurant on the boardwalk. Diners rush over to break it up. And that man is groaning after being shot. Actor Paul Hogan, star of Crocodile Dundee, has lived in Venice for over a decade. Now 81, he says he's desperate to flee the violence and return to his native Australia.
To hear from my kids in Australia, and they go to the beach and they go to football. I go tomorrow if I can fly back and not be locked in a hotel.
Mark Ryback lives in Venice and is fighting to clean up the encampments. I can't imagine tourists wanting to come and walk up and down the street.
They're not coming back because this is so frightening to many people, particularly people with kids. It's like, do you want to bring your kids to Skid Row?
And here's another sign of the times. That's Lonnie Willison, the ex-wife of Baywatch star Jeremy Jackson. The former model was spotted yesterday homeless. She appears to be living out of a shopping cart.
Lonnie Wilson's
now
been homeless for 5 years.
5 years.
She's turned down offers of help. She says she's okay. With
With
vaccines
now
readily available, corporations around the country are speeding up plans to have people back at the office, maybe by Labor Day, if not sooner. And for those who put on the pandemic pounds for isolation, that means you got a deadline to get back in shape.
Or do 8 counts.
The race is on to get back in pre-pandemic shape.
Nice, tight abs.
Fitness instructor Cheryl Wilson says she's never been busier. And Weight Watchers, now known as WW International, says membership is up 16%.
People are starting to have events. People are going back to the office, and they want to look and feel better.
But she says don't try to do too much at once.
Don't start one of these fad diets that's super restrictive. Think about what works for you. If you need chocolate every day like me, or if you need your glass of wine, stick with the wine, stick with some moderate amount of chocolate per day, per week, and then the rest of your meals, make healthy choices. Lots of veggies, cut down on the heavy carbs.
Meanwhile, across America, kids as young as 12 can start getting the Pfizer vaccine.
But I'm joined here by one of the first teenagers in the nation to get the vaccine.
This 14-year-old's mom wasted no time getting him vaccinated, proudly showing off his Band-Aid on
Show the world, baby. Show the world.
And it's the feel-good commercial everyone's talking about. Americans going back out into the world again. Back to the office. Back to, well, you know. The heartwarming ad, for Gum of all things, captures what we're all feeling right now.
I'm not a doctor, but I trust science.
Some famous faces are joining the effort to help persuade those still hesitant to get vaccinated in a campaign funded by the Creative Coalition.
mission.
I know personally 6 people who have died from this disease, and I don't want to see anyone else die. I don't want to see anyone else go to the hospital.
Deborah is helping the effort, recording this very personal message.
My father-in-law died of COVID. I got my vaccine because I miss my family. My son lives overseas and he can't travel because of COVID and we can't visit him. And it may seem scary, but COVID's scarier. Get the vaccine. Be there for your life. This is your shot.
The coalition
Girl,
was
this
asked
is
by
now-
the Yale School of Public Health to spread the word on
How?
the vaccination is, and I am honored to
On
be
it.
part of the effort. What was supposed
But it's
to
supposed to
be a
be-
holiday at Six Flags ended in tears
Tears.
for one family when the mom
Mom.
said she was told by Park Police that her shorts were too short.
Short.
She also said
She also
she
said,
had to go buy
buy
some new ones,
new ones.
and that's when things escalated.
Escalated now.
This young mom is close to tears. She says she's being kicked out of a Six Flags theme park because her shorts were too short. Bailey Breedlove showed us the shorts she was wearing that day.
They're saying our shorts are too small.
Bailey says it started when this guard told her 11-year-old daughter to stop rolling down a hill.
Honestly, I was shocked. I was leaving. You know, I didn't why. Look at this. Look at what you're doing. Oh my God. Was sad as she thought it was her fault. My daughter crying was thinking I was about to get arrested because this lady was handcuffs right in front of her. Identify yourself and you can leave.
The entire family was escorted out of the park in Oklahoma City.
I will wear these shorts anywhere because I don't feel like there's anything wrong with them.
They're saying our shorts are too small.
Bailey says
Bailey
she
says-
has been banned from all
All.
the Six Flags theme parks for 5 years.
Years.
She says that's fine with her because she
Her.
doesn't want to go back anyway.
Anyways.
Six Flags did not respond to our request for comment. There is a lot
There's a
of
lot-
buzz about Jennifer Lopez
Jennifer
and
Lopez.
Ben Affleck being an item again. But if Ben's
If
good
Ben's-
pal Matt Damon has an opinion about any of it, maybe he doesn't want to share it.
Share it.
Because when he was asked about the return of Jennifer during a live interview, somehow
Somehow.
his connection got lost.
Lost.
Prompting
Prompting-
some to ask if maybe he hung up
Hung
to
up.
avoid the question.
We're just saying the same thing.
Whoa! Did Matt Damon just hang up on the Today Show after being asked about the hottest celebrity story in the world? His best bud, Ben Affleck, has reportedly rekindled his romance with Jennifer Lopez, his ex-fiancée from 17 years ago. They were seen over Mother's Day weekend in Montana.
We need to talk about something.
Yeah, very important topic.
I just heard you guys. I was sitting here waiting to come on TV. It's the first time I heard about it.
And what did you think?
I didn't know yet. It's a fascinating story. It's true. I love them both. I hope it's true. That would be awesome.
But before they could dig deeper, Damon appeared to disconnect the live remote from Australia.
We were just saying the same thing.
But just like that, he was back. It was a technical glitch.
You didn't want to talk. Okay, you don't have to hang up on us. Just say move on, Hoda and Savannah.
We know they've been in touch on and off throughout the years, so there's definitely always, I think, been a mutual respect and a bond that has remained. So now that they're both single and spending this time together, who knows what might come of it.
Meanwhile, J-Lo's ex, Alex Rodriguez, was asked about the reported romance.
What do you think about the news about Jennifer and Ben?
That was interpreted as a dig against Affleck, a famous Boston Red Sox fan, arch enemies of the Yankees. Back in 2002, they were famously known as Bennifer. Their love was on display in movies and her music videos. Their wedding was going to be the celebrity event of the year at the exclusive Bacara Resort in Santa Barbara. But they called off the wedding days before the ceremony, citing excessive media attention. By 2004, they called it quits for good.
It's official. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are really history, as papers around the country made abundantly clear.
Who knew all those years later they'd be making headlines again?
And we'll be back
We're
with
back
more
to
Inside
this
Edition
right
right
after
after
this. Next. So.
Lawlessness.
The neighborhood
neighbor?
where no cops are allowed.
Allowed.
Did he die while paramedics waited for permission to get to him?
You guys could be saving this man's life.
Why did you guys not come and help that 19-year-old young man?
Plus.
From Cinderella to Pam
The actress who charmed the world playing Cinderella is now playing Pam Anderson's life story.
Inside Edition with Devin Norval. We'll be right back.